camera. I wanted to make this video because my long purse video that I'm also going to be posting with this one is very long and also is lacking some information that I wish I had elaborated on, but majority of the video is just me making the purse. So I figured I would do this video to kind of help answer any questions that might come to mind. So I'll go over the materials that I used first and where I got them. The bark was sourced at my parents' in their yard. They had a tree fall over, and so a lot of the bark was from that, and so were the end pieces. Those were also, I guess, chopped off of the same tree. Magnets, I got those from the dollar store. The material that, like the cloth material, I believe there were 3 different, the inside, the outside, and then also the flap of the purse. Those were all from Goodwill, thrift stores in general. Rings on the purse for the strap connectors I got from a craft store years ago. I'm not entirely sure which one, but if you just look for purse hardware or even tear apart a purse you already have for the hardware, you could do that. The strap that I have specifically for this purse is from another purse that I got at a thrift store, and it detaches so I can put it on any purse that I want, which is why I did it that way. The glue was from Walmart. The ribbon that I used also from Walmart. Oh, and the oatmeal base box was from Walmart. I eat oatmeal, so I had a couple boxes laying around. The strap connectors that I used, you see in the video, it's a material that I ended up folding up, and I put the rings on the end and sewed them down. The reason why I didn't just do a small piece on each side was because I wasn't sure how heavy the log purse was going to be, and honestly, it's not that heavy, but I didn't know how heavy it was going to be because I knew that the bark would add weight. So that's the reason why I ended up doing a long piece of material to go all the way around, so that I would have added stability and kind of cradle it so that it would hold that weight. The other thing that I did was when I put the flap in, which you'll see in the video, when I put the flap in, I also went over the material connector, went over that to add more stability so that, again, that weight would be held. While you're making the purse, and specifically putting on the bark, you want to make sure that you can open your flap at all times. This is as far as I can open the flap. If I wanted to go a little further, I could, but this was where I was okay with holding it because my hip is right here, so I'm only going to be opening it enough to get stuff out of my purse. So that was something that I wasn't too worried about, other than not being able to open it. So make sure that you can open it at all times. The back part of where that opens, I actually did not put a lot of bark. There's only like 2 pieces of bark in that spot, and the rest of it I painted in. It's on the back side. Again, your hip is right here, or wherever you want that purse on you, but I like it on my hip, so my hip is right here. When I open this, or even close it, no one is going to be seeing this part. So if you're worried about, it not looking consistent, you don't necessarily have to worry about that part. Also, with me painting it to match the bark, just looking at it, it looks like if you were to look at a tree and peel bark off of that tree, that's kind of what that looks like. So even if someone were to look at it like that, it's kind of hard to tell. I mean, unless you're really looking at this thing. So that's something that I recommend at all points. Make sure you can open that. Another thing that I made sure to do, I didn't want to go over the rings with the bark. You don't want to go over, because when you're trying to put the bark on here, when you open it, your straps are going to be right here. So you still want to be able to open it with the straps being there as well. So make sure that that bark is in line with your end pieces. The rest of it, I tried to blend outward, so the bark does go over it, but the top part does not, and honestly, it doesn't look too bad. You can see some of the material, but it's not that bad overall. This did take a lot of patience, and it was definitely a trust the process project. So I recommend that you take your time with it. I was a little bit rushed with it because I was on a time crunch. I was invited to go to Ren Fair with some friends, and I really wanted to make my costume, but because I didn't have time for that either, I wanted to at least make something. And I had been seeing on Pinterest people making log purses out of leather, and even though I really like that idea, I really wanted to make mine realistic, and so that's when I started trying to think of how I could maybe do that, and that's when I came up with this. Mine was very, I guess, it was very winged. Like, I just winged most of it. I had an idea of what I wanted, but I definitely did not plan this out. Don't think I would ever change anything on this purse, so I think I did really well for the time period I had. I believe it was 3 weeks, which sounds like enough time, but I had to make sure that all the glue was drying in between the different stages, and so I would let it sit for like 2 days before continuing. And because I also had to make sure that the bark was treated and make sure that other things were getting done, it took longer than I thought it would. So I was a little rushed, but I got everything done. Because of that, the first time I took it out was to Ren Fair, and I did have a couple pieces of bark fall off. Totally fine. I felt them fall off, so I grabbed them and just put them in my purse, glued them back on later, and it was fine. Didn't fully bind to the log purse, and so that's why they fell off, because now they're actually fine. Putting the bark on was probably the hardest part of the whole project, only because you have to figure out what pieces fit where. And the thing that helped me was to put like a base bark layer on and then come back through and layer tinier pieces of bark on top of the other bark so that it blended together that way. The other thing was that I used more thin bark than I used thick bark. The reason for that was because the thick bark didn't want to blend in as well as the thin bark, and because of the different sizes, they weren't quite connecting the way that they needed to. So overall, I would say try and find bark that is very similar to the thickness of the overall purse. By one thickness, I mean the thinner, not the thicker, because you don't want the thicker on the flap, because it's going to be a lot harder to pull up, and it's going to be heavier in the end as well. Unless you want that. If you want the thicker bark, go for it. So the painting at the end of the video, the reason I did that was because of the crease in the back. I wanted that to blend in, but I also wanted to add some shadowing to the rest of my purse. So the whole thing isn't painted, but there are sections that are painted, because I wanted to create like a shadow and dimension, since some of the bark that I have on there, because it's thick, comes off of the purse more so than some of the other bark. So because of this, I had to go in and paint and create shadows and dimensions because I needed it to look like it was one log. So yeah, so you see in the video where I painted it, but honestly you can't even tell in certain areas where I painted it. I mainly painted the flap because the flap was the part that was the hardest to blend. It's also the part that you see the most because it's the top of the purse, so you're gonna see the front and the top, and those are the areas that were my main focus, because as far as like look wise, I wanted it to be nice on that side because no one's really gonna be looking at the back. Of course I tried to make all of it look good, but I did spend more time on the front and the top of like the visible areas versus the rest of it, because I really wanted it to look real, like I'm carrying around a log, you know. So that's why I painted and did some of those areas, especially because glue was also showing in certain areas, because when I'm trying to put it on, the glue would either come out or it would start doing like the little webby. So if you are making this purse for a specific event and you have a time crunch, that's fine. Because like I did, it was fine. But I do recommend that you wear it out and about beforehand, so that if you do need to make any modifications or you do need to reinforce it, that you have the time to do that. And then also you will know how sturdy your purse is before like taking it out all the time. That way you're not worried about it or in the back of your mind like, oh, if I do this, am I gonna like ruin my purse that I spent forever making? I personally did not want to have to worry about my purse. I want to be able to like hit it in a door and it'd be fine and me not have to worry about it. So that was my personal goal, was to get to a point where I'm not worrying about the purse. But on top of that, even if damage does happen, it's bark. Get more and glue it on. Like, it's not gonna be that big of a deal. So there's that too. But yeah, just get to that mindset that even if it gets banged around and you have a little wear and tear, you can fix it. So yeah, but I think that's it. That was the only thing that I could think of. I just wanted to give ideas and kind of elaborate on what I was doing. That way people can make their own purse, because I know that I'm not gonna probably make any more, and I don't think I'm gonna sell any either, so I'm just putting that information out there so that I can be like, hey, you can do it too. And yeah, hopefully this helps. Yeah, but I'm sorry if these are really long. I'm just trying to get information out there. So yeah, if you can think of any other questions that I might have missed, go ahead and leave them in the comments and I'll try and answer them to the best of my ability, or even try and like give ideas or something. Other than that, I think that is it.